Hello, MS Gym family. Today looks a little bit different for us. Normally, we interview fellow MS Gym members, but today we have a treat. We're actually talking with Ken Allen, the CEO of the MS Gym. For those of you who don't know who Ken Allen is, he is Trevor's business partner and handles everything behind the scenes, including marketing, administration, personnel, staffing, and program planning. Ken has been with the MS Gym for nearly 8 years and has been an essential part of its success. Ken is the brains behind the business. So, welcome, Ken. Thank you for joining me today.
Oh, thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
So, would you add any other titles to that introduction?
Nah, that's fine. I'm not big into titles anyway. But yeah, I'm a co-owner of the MS Gym, and Trevor and I, we've been doing our thing over 7.5 years now. Probably 8 years since I met him, but 7.5 years since we officially started around the MS Gym.
As a partaker of the MS Gym, and the MS Gym has been so life-changing for me and so many others, I will say that Trevor's first video actually launched on May 16, 2017. And it was life-changing for me because I was in such a dark, dark place at that time. I felt pretty forsaken, and I was even in a crisis of faith because my MS had turned progressive at that point. So finding the MS Gym was a serious answer to prayer. And I know for so many others in the MS Gym, it has been such a lifeline. Before the MS Gym started, what was Ken Allen doing?
Good question. And honestly, I've had like many careers. I've never just had one path. So I had many jobs in my 20s, and then I moved here to Florida in my late 20s, early 30s. And that's really when I started my entrepreneurial spirit. I really did a bunch of my own. I got really into doing a lot of my own things, and you name it. I had a nonprofit for autistic kids to play tennis. I owned a tennis academy, and because I was a college tennis player, so that was one of my passions, teaching tennis. So I had a big business with that, and I was always doing side projects. But like a lot of practitioners who are doing a lot of one-on-one stuff, and I was working with a lot of kids and adults in a one-on-one capacity on the court. There's some burnout from that, like day after day. So I just was looking for a change, and I saw the trend of business moving to online. Now, again, this is going back to now I'm going back to like 2014. So remember, yeah, we did have Facebook then, and Amazon was getting huge then, and all the technology trends were there. But if you go back that far, it really hadn't, it's nothing like it is today. The acceleration of AI and technology, all these social apps, and of course, COVID. COVID was a big thing because you had millions of business owners, and it's like I had to adapt and bring part of my business online. Like I need to figure out this online game because that's the way the world is shifting. So I started delving into the online space, and I tried a lot of my own different projects and different areas, and I learned how to run an online business. As I got deep into these projects, I got pretty good at it, and there was tons of people that were 10 steps behind me still, right? Who are really looking to figure out how to go online. So I started doing, I had a small consulting practice on the side, working with, again, practitioners who were just really trying to get started out and figure out like how do I take my expertise, knowledge that I've used for years in more of a brick and mortar setting, and take it online, take my expertise online. And Trevor happened to be one of my clients, and he was awesome right from the get go. And I was very attracted to his content because my dad has Parkinson's. So when I saw some of Trevor's content and what he was trying to do, it connected and resonated with me on that level because although when we went online with the MS Gym, we obviously kind of came out. Obviously, with the name of the MS Gym, being MS multiple sclerosis, we were marketing toward multiple sclerosis. But the truth is, Trevor treats and has had clients with all kinds of neurological
Mhm.
conditions and autoimmune conditions. So Parkinson, he's treated plenty of Parkinson's, and his exercises are applicable to tons of conditions. So that really resonated with me because I'm always was looking for solutions for my dad, obviously. Then once we just started working together and just taking those baby steps of how can we transition him from his brick and mortar setting to having an online presence. And part of his mission was that he wanted to reach more people because let's face it, you know, there are not a lot of people with Trevor's expertise in a local area. So it's limiting on both sides, meaning it was limiting for him in the sense of the only people he could really reach to come see him. And again, it was a medical fitness based practitioner local motor. It was not just MS, but still, even if you add in stroke patients and Parkinson's patients and other different conditions, he's limited to what? Maybe a 10-mile radius, 20-mile radius. No one's driving 2 hours, right? So, it was limiting for him in that capacity. But the other way it was limiting is that there's people all around the globe who can benefit from Trevor's expertise, and there was no way to reach them with just a local practice. We had to have a global presence and impact more lives and reach more people. We needed, that was his vision to go online. I would also add the other thing is that the reality is most PTs, if you just go to a regular PT in any town in America, or the Canada or Europe or where Australia. I mean, again, we have clients now in over I think 30 countries. But the average PT is really doesn't have that specialty like Trevor has. Not because they're good, bad, or good. Some are bad and good, like any profession, but because the way PTs are trained, a lot of it is more general. Like a lot of them are very good at treating sports injuries
Mm.
and various conditions like that. Helping someone who's coming off of a surgery kind of get back to themselves, right? And, those are the most common things that PTs treat, right? So it is very hard for people to find the kind of information that Trevor, shares. And he's very big on educating people. And again, a lot of people have not been properly educated.
One other thing I will add to that, the difference too between a lot of PTs and Trevor. Trevor is hopeful, and the MS gym is full of hope. I can't even tell you how many PTs and other medical professionals have written me off and said your MS is progressive, like you're just going to get worse, and that's not okay with Trevor. And that's one thing I really appreciate about Trevor and the MS gym is they don't give up on you. And I think that's so important. Living with MS or another chronic illness, we're so used to getting all this bad news and oh, it's progressive, you're just going to get worse, and just it's a like a breath of fresh air having Trevor saying, no, I'm not okay with that statement. I'm not okay with that belief. Like let's do what we can to make you stronger.
For sure. And there's a lot of misinformation out there. And when we started it, what I noticed, and it's changed over the years, which I'll touch upon, was that it was not even widely recognized in the MS community that how important exercising was. So even in I'd say the early days, there was a lot of I, sort of convincing that we had to do with people that yes, this can help you. This can, actually slow progression and can counteract symptoms and make you feel better. And in general, obviously, forgetting just symptom management and things like that, just exercise in itself
Mm.
is healthy for you. So much literature has come out. There's been more studies that have come out in the last 7 years. There's just so much evidence that how helpful it could be. So even neurologists are really promoting exercise now, and so that's not really controversial anymore. I think that's widely accepted. But yes, having hope, belief, again, our message of living a life by design not by diagnosis, is something that's a really big part of the MS Gym. It's a place of hope. It's not about, we don't want people just giving up. So what's important to me also is that, okay, even for people who do face more significant disease progression and more challenges, because there's a wide gap, right? Doing this, I've seen everything from a wide range from bedridden to fully mobile and managing maybe minimal symptoms, right? But I would say, I think a really important part of what I want people to get out of who are part of the MS Gym community is that you could still change your outlook and have a good life.
Mhm.
It may look different than your old life, and you really hit on this a lot, Jody, in different podcast episodes and doing your Motivation Mondays in our free Facebook group, which, shout out for those of you listening, if you're not part of our free Facebook group, just type in the MS Gym, will come up in Facebook. But you talk about this a lot, about changing your mindset, because we're not preaching that we're a miracle cure and we can change everything for you. So I do think that what you touch upon a lot is, again, changing that outlook to, yes, this is my situation now, but it does not need to be a death sentence. I can still enjoy life, and not that I won't have hard days, but I, I could still do everything in my power to have the best life that I could, even though let's face it, being handed an MS diagnosis, you're not dealt the best hand, right? That's not what we want. But we all have challenges in life. We all do. And, I think it's coming to grips with those things, and it's what you choose to do with it. I'm not minimizing how difficult that's easier said than done. Like, just have a positive attitude. It's not as simple as that. We have to really work on ourselves and dive deep. But to me, that mindset piece is just super important.
I agree with you. And I think I so appreciate the community we have both in the free MS gym and then the members only corner where we have for our paid members. Just there's an overall atmosphere of hope and encouragement. And it's not that we don't share our struggles and our hard times, but it's not a group where you go and commiserate with. And it's not like that at all. And I think it's so important for trying to maintain a positive mindset to be around like-minded people. So Ken, how has the business model for the MS Gym kind of evolved over the last 7.5 years?
Good question. So many things have evolved, which I'll talk about. But I will say the basic ethos of the business intentionally has not changed. The two main things that I wanted on the business side of things was that, number one, obviously we had a stable business. Right? If we go out of business, we can't help anyone. So one of the first things I did with Trevor, and he was on board with this too, was that we didn't want a business where we're just selling one-time products. So like you would buy well, that was the main part. Well, I should say that's the main part of the business. So you would just buy, let's just say, a 15-day reducing spasticity product. Because the amount of volume that we would have to sell of those just to keep our virtual doors open would be nearly impossible. Like, it just wouldn't work. So we knew right away, to make this work, we were going to need a recurring revenue model, which honestly most gyms anyway, whether online or in person, have that model for a reason. Again, most would go out of business. It's like, if even if a brick and mortar gym, if they just charged per session or per class, like, they're not going to make it. You need members who are committed. We always felt, let's have one big membership where we're giving as much as we can in that membership, right? Giving all the programs they need, all the education, everything. Um, and that, we have not wavered from that. Like, so our membership program to this day is our main flagship program, and nothing's going to change as far as it being the flagship program. And then the second piece that has not changed and is equally as important is that we offer a ton of free resources to the community. And they go hand in hand, because if we didn't have the stability of the membership, Trevor could not do all this free content, like, because we wouldn't have a business, and then he'd be back at his brick and mortar working one-on-one. There would be no MS Gym. So they do go hand in hand to me. And the fact is, not everyone is going to buy something from us, and I'm okay with that. And we wanted to have a business that truly is for the entire global MS community. And there are tons of people who just, again, may never buy anything from us, but will still get really great value of attending. We offer so much stuff, free workshops. We put out so much content on YouTube, on the social media channels like Facebook and Instagram, and all sorts of stuff. Even in just, if you're on our email list, we send regular free exercises. I could go on and on. There's just a ton of free stuff we give away. I couldn't even list them all now, but so that was a big piece of it for us. Fortunately, we can do that. Like, a lot of businesses couldn't have that kind of model. I mean, if you went to a restaurant, they couldn't just give their food away for free, right? Maybe once in a while, like if you're a frequent customer and it's your birthday, okay, free meal once a year, but just an example. But that model for us, we didn't want the all or nothing. But again, those are the main two pieces. Now, we do still have what I call more of a mini membership, which is our symptom solutions program, which you actually, Jody, were kind of involved with helping me think that through, of like, okay, how can we have a little lower priced kind of recurring revenue offer that provides value but isn't quite what the membership is, just because everyone wants something different. And then we do have one-off products where someone can buy just an individual product. But again, I'd say 90% of our focus is still giving away free content and the focus on the membership. The other part of your question is really, how have we evolved? So I was saying there that in some ways, again, we've kept things simple as we can as far as the business model, but it's evolved just as far as how much it's grown. Number one, we started with zero. It was like Trevor just went live for his first video. You started at zero. And now, I mean, I think I lose track of the exact number we have. I know it's, well, if you count all our social platforms, YouTube, Instagram, a few other places, I mean, we're well over 80,000 if you add it all up, of how many people, plus who's on our email list and gets our email newsletter. It's well over 80,000 people now. So we've reached a lot more people. So that's a natural evolution of just being consistent and having a stable business. A lot of businesses don't make it past the 5-year mark. So it's evolved in that way. It's also evolved just as far as what what the community needs. We're always looking at what can we improve upon, what needs to be changed. There's so much I've learned in doing this, and as Trevor as a practitioner. So we are always thinking, what do we need to do less of? What's wasting our time? And what do we need to do more of to provide a better experience for everybody? So that's kind of how it's evolved the most, is just that we're always making changes. And we've been able to just add a lot of things to the community. There's a lot of ways people can find us. There's a lot of we're always adding resources. And like I said, the community just continues to grow. So I would say those are the main ways that I've seen it evolve.
Now, you were talking about, other businesses, not just MS related or fitness. Why do you think the MS gym, like 7.5 years later, is still going? Like, what's the difference between the MS gym and perhaps some other businesses, especially during COVID? All these online things popped up, right? But so many online businesses, they sank, they didn't swim.
Yeah, I think that a big part of our success has been the community.
Mm.
I really, I think the people we found, that found us, I should say, in the first year or two were just like, we were blessed just to have the right group of people. And I know you were part of that. And so I think beyond like the programs and all everything, which is obviously that's the core of our business, but really, to me, what made it work the best and continues to make it work the best is the community. And like people have formed amazing real friendships. Like this goes well beyond just, just an exercise program. And people connecting. When we first started it, there weren't a lot of places to go. Yes, there was other Facebook groups out there that would, and some, like you said earlier, were just places to commiserate together, right? So there weren't, there just wasn't a lot of that, and people needed that. People want community. Like I'd imagine it would 20 years ago, before really the internet exploded, and so it had to be so isolating for people. So, I think again that people who found us were really, really into it. Like they committed to it. It's like, they were very receptive to what Trevor was sharing, and just a good group of people that vibe together and were able to share their experiences and have others provide help and just kind of love on them, on bad days. And that piece of it took off, and I think that continues today. Even though we're larger and do evolve, like you talk about, we've always tried to keep that close-knit community. Now, we're not going to make everyone happy. Not everyone's going to come in and love the culture of the MS Gym, and that's with anything. But by and large, I think we have our reputation speaks for itself. And I think the other word is trust. I think people trust us. So I'd say that is probably number one. And then number two is that Trevor's really good at what he does. A lot of people have had really good results, and so I think those two things have probably been the biggest contributor.
Who is not the right fit for the MS gym?
That's a tough one, I'll be honest. Because the part of me wants to say we want to be for everyone.
Yeah.
We want to be right for everyone, because I always want to help people if we can. I don't think anyone is the wrong person for the MS gym. So in other words, if someone's just open enough to start watching Trevor's YouTube videos, I think that's for anyone, like to me, it's just, do you have an open mind? Like that this can actually make even a 2 to 3% difference in improving your life. To me, that's even worth it. If you presented something to me that's this is something, are you open to this? If it's something I think can help me at all with my, I don't have MS, but I got tons of other issues. So I'm gonna be open to that. If I think obviously it can make my life 10% better, 20, it's hard to measure these things, but if anyone is open to it, I think that anyone's right for the MS Gym. It doesn't mean that they'll ever be right for our paid products, but to at least get some value using our free resources, I think that's anyone. I think someone who's not going to be right for us is just someone who has a closed mind. And some people do. Maybe they've just been so hurt in life. They're just in such a bad place mentally, which I know what that's like, to just be in a place when you're in a really bad headspace, it's hard to be open. You get very cynical. I've been through that in my life, and chronic illness can do that to you. So I'd say someone who's closed-minded and not open to something new and different, they're not going to be right for the MS gym. They're just not. So that's who I would say it's not for. And I've seen groups like that. Early on, it was interesting. I won't name the name of the Facebook group, but in our really early days, I had connected with someone and she invited Trevor on to basically do a mini workshop for free in their group. And this was a big group Facebook, one of the big Facebook groups out there, support groups for MS at the time. And kind of I put them in the category of, like you had said earlier, kind of the let's commiserate together and
Mhm.
just complain all day. And Trevor, he shared his expertise the same way he did in our regular free group, right? And so yeah, have the same exact content. He's sharing the same stuff. In that group, it was just like there was no reaction to it. There was no, it was like it felt like a Morgan there. There was just very few people came out and commented or said anything. It was just like, all right. And yet we were building our free group at the time. And again, the same content, and everyone was like, thank you for this. This is what I was looking for. I needed this. I needed help with this exact thing. It was like two different worlds. So,
Mhm.
even though both groups were people with MS, but just the reaction was just night and day. I say it is where people are at in their lives. If they have to be open to something new and different.
So we have the paid membership, and then Trevor and you have put out tons of free resources on different social media platforms, Instagram, YouTube, and such. Which social media platform do you find gets the most engagement? Like people, the most views, the people most watch?
We needed to focus on one platform to start with, and Facebook was it for us. And I mean, our free Facebook group, which has evolved a lot, but from the early days, that's where we put all our attention. And I still think we have, I mean, there's like over 30,000 people in there, and our Facebook business page gets a ton of engagement still. So I'd still say Facebook, and then probably second is YouTube, because everything's so searchable there. Unlike the Facebook feed or the Instagram feed, where something Trevor maybe filmed a year ago, it's like lost in that feed. No one's finding it unless you want to hurt your finger scrolling forever and ever. But YouTube is easy to go and search, and you can find a relevant video for if you're looking for something very specific, like um, numbness and tingling in your foot, let's just say, you're going to search, you can easily find something that is there for you. It may have been a 3-year-old video, but that's the beauty I think of the YouTube formatting that's set up that way. So I'd say YouTube second, but a close second, and then Instagram third. But we're working on Instagram. I don't think we have the presence there that I'd like at this point. We're still trying. And then just our email newsletter is very popular. We give out a ton of stuff through our, I call them daily-ish emails that we send out.
So ever since the MS Gym started, Trevor and yourself, you've been purists in the sense that your product is exercise, and you're a firm believer in that for people with MS, people with any kind of medical conditions, basically for anyone that is alive with a heartbeat. We all need to exercise. So why hasn't the MS Gym maybe gotten on board with some of the other products, whether MS related or just for general health? Why is the MS Gym more just sticking to the core of exercise?
I always try to put myself in the shoes of someone based on my own experiences as best as I can. And I can tell you that I've had some horrible experiences where I get on someone's email list, a company, a small company, a marketer, a big company, that doesn't matter. And the minute I express interest at all, right, whether that's entering my email for something, anything, or even if I buy an entry level product of theirs, immediately I'm upsold into a million other things. And I'm sure everyone listening has had this experience. And it, it, if it's done well, I don't mind it. But a lot of times it feels sleazy. And I just feel like they just want my dollars. They're just pushing more and more product on me. And I never felt good about that. And I also, what I really had trouble with was the affiliate thing. I've never been a big fan of that, meaning, I'm trying to think of it. I'll just take something here because in my room here, here's my water I'm drinking, Aquafina. So let's just say, not the best, but let's just say I'm on the Aquafina email list, and they start pitching me other products that they never have maybe even tried themselves. It's just a money-making thing for them. And I saw that a lot where companies were pitching me other products and services because they can get a commission. But I often wonder, do you really use it? And we see this with spokespeople all the time, famous celebrities, right? Like always promote. It's like, and people fall for it too. It's like, oh, if so and so is using it, they're influenced by it. But it's like, I mean, don't you ever wonder, like, does this person ever really use that own product in their own lives? Has it really improved their life? So if we're ever going to recommend something to someone, I feel it has to truly be in 100% in the best interests of the entire community. And so there are a lot of products where that have come our way, meaning people have contacted us, they want to collaborate. And number one, often sometimes it's a really expensive product or service. So I'm very cautious about putting something out there that may be a really expensive solution. You're talking, it could be $1,000, whatever, or more, when I know a lot of people can't afford that. And because we have such a wide range of incomes, and so that never felt good to me. I don't want to put something out there. I'm like, oh, well, that sounds good, but I could just imagine the thread of like people fighting over, like, oh, cool, but I can't afford that. Thanks for throwing this in my face. And other people being excited about buying it. Like that never felt right to me. The other thing is I don't love recommending something. We don't love promoting products unless we're 100% sure that 90% of the people that are going to buy it, that's not our products, are going to be happy with it and have a good experience with it. So that's the other thing. And I don't like, if something is controversial, I kind of pause. And us being about exercise, I always I always felt we're doing something that is not controversial and we know provides value, and we just always wanted to stick to, we want people to trust us and buy our products and services. Like my mission is not to try to make an extra buck off of other products and services. Again, I don't have anything against businesses that do that if it's done ethically, but it's like I said, there's still tons of people out there that maybe have never purchased anything of ours. I'd rather them build more trust with them before I start pitching some, possible solution or send them down some rabbit hole. So, that's kind of our philosophy around it. And I'm not saying we will never, because I don't want to sound like a hypocrite. Something could come along that I think would be great to promote. And we will share with people when we hear someone's getting good results. So for example, Psionic, okay, who I think what they're doing, I think they're an amazing company, what they're doing. And we did promote them. Now, not in the sense, and they promoted us, but not in the sense of we were getting a commission. It was just that a lot of our people, a lot of our MSGym members started talking about it and saying, this is cool and I'm liking it, I'm getting results. And so once that starts to happen, then that's another story. That was more of an exception, but there are times that we definitely will recommend other things. We try to just keep our focus about how we can help people. We really don't want to throw them down. Let them do their own research on all the other things that are out there. I trust people will just people have to do their own due diligence. But yeah, I never wanted to push other products and services. That was just, that never felt great for me.
And I think that's one of the reasons that the MS Gym and the MOC have felt like safe places because we're not pitched products. and no one's out to try to swindle us out of our money. And I think by keeping it focused, like you said, on exercise, it creates a safe place where you know that you can trust the source and there's no ulterior motives to it. So Ken, we've talked a lot about some of the different products and membership, how things have evolved. My last question to you is, what does the future look like for the MS Gym? What programs or programming do you have in store for us?
There's really two big things. One is that we want to improve our membership. We don't want to rest on our laurels. And with modern technology, videos can get outdated after a while. So we're going to actually be doing a whole revamp of our membership really soon. We had MS Gym 1.0, which was when we launched. We made a big 2.0, which was a different version. And now we're going to do sort of what I call a 2.5. And the reason I say not a 3.0 is because we're going to build it slowly. We don't want to overwhelm people who are used to the current programs. So we're going to release things little by little over the next 2 years, really. It's a 2-year project. And part of the reason we're doing this is it's not just about that technology's evolved and the video quality will be better and the audio will be even better and the software experience can be better, the app experience. Yes, that stuff's important. But to me, what's way more important is the quality of the programming. And we have so much data now of what works, what works well, what doesn't work. And you really need to be honest with yourself. You can't just think we have this perfect product. There's so many things that we can improve on. And it's complicated because we have so many mobility levels. So, but Trevor and I spent a lot of time talking the last year, and I'm kind of in the trenches with him on this because I see where people get stuck, don't progress as much as they like through the programs, and I see where other people have more success. But I think there's a different way we can structure the programs, again, based on all the feedback I've seen, and I listen to what everyone has to say, whether I like it or not. We even, when a member leaves, we have an outtake survey. So I read every single one of those. So we're designing a program, again, based on what we've seen that we think will just really enhance people's results. And a lot of the focus of that, Trevor, when you have Trevor on, he can speak more to this, but building leg strength is a huge thing. And the way the new program is going to be structured is going to be a game changer for that. So I don't want to give that away. And I can't speak to that as well as Trevor, but we are going to be really revamping and changing the membership. So that's number one. And that's a big thing. And then number two is just that we have more offerings because not everyone wants to be part of a membership. Everyone is different. Some people just want a workshop. Some people just want some free stuff. Some people might just want an individual product. So we're expanding our offerings, both free and again, more non-member things that people could buy that's not necessarily the membership. Although I always think that's still the best because you're making a commitment. So those are some of the changes we're making. Along with one other thing I'd really like to do is get back to eventually in the near short term and long term, offering some actual in-person events again. It's been on my wish list for a while, and I'll tell you, it was always a part of what I wanted. And we had a great first summit like many years ago, like not far after we're in business only a year or two. And then we were going to build momentum off that. We had so many plans for a second summit. And then all of a sudden, something called COVID came around and changed the world forever. So obviously that changed. We had to cancel the event, which was really unfortunate. And it just obviously in-person events were just put on the back burner for at the time. And I do feel now that it's the time to start them again. So I want to get back to that. It's just been tough because it takes a lot of work. So to plan an event like that, so just finding the bandwidth for it. But it's on our agenda. Ideally, we start planning something soon, and then next year, it's one of our goals to, even if it's just a smaller event to start, but I'd love to get in-person stuff going again. I also have this vision of eventually there's MS Gym meetups in different parts of the this country and in Canada and wherever, because we have members from all over where just people can meet at a coffee shop, or whatever, just connect in person. And people have done that on their own, but I mean like kind of an official MS Gym meetup. And it doesn't always have to be a big event that we plan. So yes, I'd like some big events like a summit in person, but I'd love to have some organized, structured way that people can meet up in person, like I said, in different areas, really throughout the world.
Well, Ken, that is exciting. I have to say, I feel a little bit being behind the scenes and doing a lot of projects with you. All these things are kind of new to me, so it's exciting for me. So I know for the listeners of the podcast who have been part of the MS Gym, the idea of the membership 2.5 and a potential summit and more community events are very exciting. Well, Ken, thank you so much for giving up some time in your afternoon to talk with us and to share about kind of the evolution of the MS Gym and where things are headed.
My pleasure. It was great to be here.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the MS Gym podcast. You can find more about the MS Gym on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and at themsgym.com.